my son sent me pictures.
Well, good evening. Welcome to the National Middle Level Science Teachers Association's Meet Me in the Middle webinar. The NMLSTA is the only national organization that serves middle school teachers, strictly middle school teachers, grades 5 to 9. We're happy to continue our webinar series, which we started the year of COVID when we couldn't do other things for our members. Our members have access to idea of the month resources, the recordings of these webinars, and have the opportunity to apply for awards. Twice a year, we offer the Classroom Teacher Award, which is valued at $300 a piece. We offer them in the fall and in the spring. You can find the application process on our website and through the email newsletters that Mary Lou sends. We also offer annually the HERD Award, which is a $1,000 award for a teacher who is exemplary to their school and the school community. But in this instance, we are welcome Emily Hawbaker, who is tonight's speaker about need. I've used some of those materials. They're terrific. Let's let Emily introduce herself.
Well, hi, everybody. Thank you for having me. I thought we would see Kristen tonight, but Kristen knows all about need, and that's why I'm here tonight. The NEED project is the National Energy Education Development Project, and I am the curriculum director. I am a former middle level science teacher from outside of the Philadelphia area. I recognize Dave. I know we've met before. And I taught 8th grade science and 9th grade science for 1 year as well up in Delaware County, Pennsylvania. And during that time, I started using the NEED project materials. Fun fact for all of you who are middle level teachers, this happens, right? You take a job fresh out of college and you're told you're taking an Earth and space position because that's what you're certified in. But because you also had a 712 certification under your belt, they decided to switch the curriculum on you at the last minute, right before school started, which is what happened to me. And I started teaching physical science, which was not necessarily my favorite thing by any means. And so I came to the NEED project as a first-year teacher looking for resources to help me cover physical science and fill in some gaps because I was an earth and mineral science person by trade. Went to school for geology and was hoping I would be teaching all kinds of fun things that had to relate with earth and space. So the NEED project is a K-12 energy education nonprofit. And I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. I have some slides to kind of help fill in the gaps and make this go a little easier for everybody. The NEED project has been around for 45 years. We are celebrating our 45th anniversary. And our goal is really to make sure that the future energy workforce, that the people who are going to be, fellow bill payers with us, know about energy, are energy aware, are energy conscious. And so that means not just preparing our students, but also preparing the teachers, the community leaders, and sometimes even the workforce to understand the dynamics of making sure kids are prepared for the future. So through that mindset, we basically provide curriculum, training, and engagement opportunities around the energy content. And we cover everything energy. So science of energy, standards, so forms of energy and energy transformations, all the way up to saving energy and efficiency and conservation. So you can see teachers at a workshop there. And NEED as a nonprofit provides everything basically that we do for free. So a fun thing about NEED is that anything that you see on our website, you can access as a teacher and use, repurpose as you need or as you see fit in any shape or form. We try to design our materials in a way that helps a teacher who's never taught anything energy before and gives them the things that they need, but our exemplar teachers and things could take and modify and manipulate in any way, shape, or form. And it kind of fits the style of anybody's classroom, across all of those spectrums there. So all of our materials are free, and our material is designed by current and former classroom teachers. We are made up of a teacher advisory board, and all of the curriculum staff that work to kind of gather all of these materials together and have it tested and created with our teacher advisory board. All of the staff on the curriculum team are former classroom teachers as well, who've engaged with need materials in their classroom. So everything that we put together with a partner, or because there's a need for energy content in a certain topic area, everything that we put together is created by a group of teachers currently in the classroom, and then tested by those teachers as well to provide feedback. And so all of those materials can be downloaded and used for free at any time. Some of our materials do have kits affiliated with them, but nothing is required to purchase. A lot of the materials we hope and aim when we're designing the activities to be things that you could easily find from your class stock room if you have one, or a quick trip to a recycle bin, or at very least a Target, Walmart, Amazon shopping cart of any kind. And so part of creating that curriculum is also making sure teachers feel comfortable using it. And so we want to make sure we make teacher training accessible for all of the folks who are using it around the country. So professional development and teacher support is a huge facet of what we do. And I'll talk a little bit more about workshops in a second. And then on top of that, one of our motto, basically, one of our tenets is we like to make sure kids teach kids, or that things are as hands-on as possible. And so the mindset behind what we design is we want teachers to be able to work smarter and not harder. We know that students learn better from each other and from interacting with content than they often do learning from a person standing in front and telling them to learn this thing. And so all of our activities involve some sort of engagement, or kind of wraparound problem solving activity, or some interdisciplinary function where the kids are not just reading a piece of text and regurgitating some facts, but actively engaged in the learning in some fun or interesting way as much as possible. Now, I'm also the kind of person that feels like every now and then we need to read a piece of text and be able to analyze a piece of graphic or something like that, but we try to kind of mix those things all together. And then on top of that, a lot of what we do incorporates leadership opportunities for students. So not only are they learning about the energy topics and content pieces that they're required to learn about in their classrooms, but they're building those soft skills, those sort of 21st century learning skills they used to call them. I remember that was a buzzword from, like, I don't know, last year. And they're building those leadership skills for the classroom, but then also getting leadership opportunities for building those skills. So we like to provide scholarship opportunities for students to submit projects and examples of their work, and give them some sort of recognition for participating in those activities. And a lot of that can be done either on the state level through some of our programming, on the local level, and even on the national level. And I know there's some NMLSTA teachers like Kristen, for example, who participate in some of our awards programming. And then finally, workforce development and career and technical education. And a lot of times that is for our upper level students or folks who are returning to the workforce, but making content and trainings and things available for those folks as well. Workshops are a big portion of what we do surrounding our curriculum and making it available. And actually this video is not functioning because I forgot to click the enable content button. I apologize. So if you want to watch the quick little video that is not functioning on my slides when I copied them over from my work computer, please feel free to scan that QR code. It's a short, like 1-minute video clip that advertises our workshops and kind of gives you an understanding of what our workshops do. But there's a screenshot of a recent agenda from this year. Workshops for us are situations where we want an educator who's coming into our workshop feel like a professional that day. So we want to make sure if folks are leaving and able to leave the classroom, we want to make sure we're taking care of teachers. And so built into those partnerships that we offer, or that we engage in with energy companies and energy organizations throughout the country who might be sponsoring a teacher engagement effort. We make sure that a key portion of what we do means that you all are fed while you're with us for the day, and that you get to use the bathroom whenever you want, and that you get a piece of, not just a piece of curriculum, but you have an opportunity to take the activities that you're using back to your classroom. So we want to make sure teachers leave with a kit, and by that we mean ship it to you afterwards. We don't want you to have to like walk out with it. But we also typically provide substitute reimbursement or a stipend, depending on whether it's a Saturday or a school day, to make sure that you are able to leave the classroom and that it's worthwhile. So I encourage folks to attend. Folks really do leave feeling confident in teaching energy, and especially when it's something that's not familiar to them. So I encourage folks to look at our workshop calendar, and I'll show you where that lives here in a second. But workshops are always free to attend. We never charge for a workshop. There's never a deposit of any kind. And as long as that workshop does not have a geographical limitation for you, or a sponsorship limitation, you are welcome to attend. If you can get yourself there, or you're traveling and you're like, oh, Need's doing a workshop while I'm on spring break, let's go, you're welcome to join. If it's not in your geographical area, the only thing that happens sometimes is like if it's sponsored by a local utility, you need to be a customer of that utility to attend. And so we'll specify that. But all of our curriculum, like I mentioned, is free, downloadable in PDF format at any time. We also offer everything in e-reader format, and we cover, as I mentioned, career and technical sort of workforce development side of things, but we cover everything from primary up through career. So all of our materials are kind of lumped into those grade bands, just like the standards that you might utilize in your classroom. And our curriculum, I will show you our website, but in case you want to kind of see how things are organized, I encourage you to download our catalog, and I'll show you how to access that. It kind of talks you through, in case energy is a new topic to you, or you get handed a new curriculum for a curriculum assignment, and energy is now incorporated. How are you going to plan a unit? Our planning guide kind of talks you through this sort of steps in our mind of planning an energy unit. You want to make sure you hit some foundational energy pieces. You want to talk about a renewable and a non-renewable. You want to talk about electricity, a little bit about transportation, kind of all the things, the ways that we use energy. Our planning guide will talk you through that. So the best thing to do, honestly, if you want to become familiar with Need, is get to our website. And our website is www.need.org. And I'm actually going to take you there now. And I'm not going to spend a ton of time doing that because I know you're all functional website perusers. Since you were able to get to this webinar, that means you probably can access a website too. But I want to show you a couple hot ticket spots to head to if you are heading to our website to check things out and find some things that we are talking about this evening before I showcase some activities. So we actually are hosting our series webinar tomorrow night. So if you want to learn a little bit more about Need things, we have a curriculum webinar the third Wednesday of every month. So ours is tomorrow, in case you want to do another webinar at 7 o'clock. I think ours is 6:30 Eastern. So for our Eastern Standard Time folks, Eastern Standard tomorrow, you're welcome to sign up for one or for all. Feel free to check that out. But the hot place to go as middle school educators is this educators tab. And all of our curriculum, anything I'm going to show you, any activities, all of the things you can download from our curriculum from our website is free at any time. I want to show you a few great places to head to first. And this educators tab is pretty much a great clearinghouse for you all. The curriculum resources button here, if you head to curriculum, you'll be able to download our planning guide. You can look at all of our curriculum. We host I'm responsible for like 150 curriculum titles across these 4 grade bands. So they are smaller units typically, but you can look and peruse by grade level, by topic, and by subject area if that's helpful as well. And anytime you look at curriculum, it's going to direct you to something that feels like a shop. The only reason we put it there is so folks can access supplementary things if they want to find materials, and we can kind of help folks if they're downloading. So one of the activities I'm going to show you tonight is called Candy Collector. And what I love about our shop is it actually searches. So I'm going to do Candy Collector. So I'm going to show you here. You can actually type in the search bar and any activity that I show. Oh, great. Okay. Normally this works. Kristen should be laughing at this. Okay. Let's do candy. Let's see if that works. Apparently our search bar is broken. Our website was down yesterday. So I'm making a fool of myself. I should have checked this. It always works. Let's try circuits instead. There we go. We're also going to do sidekick circuits. I'll make sure that Candy Collector gets updated in the tags, but we're going to do sidekick circuits. You are usually able to search any activity and find the activity and download it that way. And when you see the activity, you can hover over, look at things close up and personal. You can always select a free PDF download. And when you add it to your cart, it's going to be $0. So all you have to do is check out and provide us your email address so that you can download it. And then we will send you a link to that item in perpetuity, so yours to use. And if we do update it, which I update a lot of our curriculum annually for statistical purposes, to provide new energy content data, we will let you know. We'll say, hey, Anne, you downloaded this guide. We've recently updated it. If you'd like the new copy, here you go. So we'll send you a new one. We try our best not to email the dickens out of people. And that usually goes over quite well with everybody. So when we do email you, it's because something that you've been interested in is helpful. So I'm going to head back to our web here. And another spot that I think is worth checking out in our curriculum tab is this PowerPoint and supplementary resources page. It's a place where you can find a lot of things that go with our curriculum. And one of the things I'm going to show you tonight is on this page. And that is I mentioned circuits. We're going to do I'm going to demo a sidekick circuit activity, but I'm going to do a holiday one since we are approaching the holiday mayhem that is the middle school calendar with chorus concerts and, half days for this and an early dismissal for that and a presentation from this group. You know what I'm talking about. Parent-teacher conferences. You're going to need a bunch of activities to fill those random times that you somehow have popping up with less of a school day than you planned. So these are some great opportunities to kind of fill that in. And then finally, another spot that I think is really helpful for folks is the Students tab, because all of our energy info books that we have are available here to you on our energy info books page. And these are our kind of text on energy, if you will. And we have all of them as full downloads on the shop, if you want, as full PDF downloads on this page. And then also, if you're just covering a topic quickly and more cursorily that in your classroom, you can absolutely head to just one page. So say you're heading to a discussion on climate change with your students, you can just pull up our climate change page. Or if your students are tasked with doing a research project and you only want to link them to specific pages for their specific groups on your website, you can link to just the specific energy source pages that are pertinent to your kids' specific project that they're working on. And so everything is downloadable as a PDF. If you don't have Adobe, I encourage you to check to that. And anything that you see, you can absolutely copy, paste, and modify and put in your own format, Google Forms, anything you want to do in that way. So I'll stop sharing that, going over website stuff. Anybody have any questions so far? Yeah, that's the basic stuff. now we get into the fun. So one of the things that I wanted to do is showcase, I actually will share my screen again because it's probably easier if I do. One of the things that I wanted to do was showcase some of our activities and some of our fun things. And so you should be seeing my screen again. And if you come through one of our workshops, one of the activities that we most often cover, or one of the content pieces we most often cover, is the science of energy. And to us, that means energy forms and transformations, which is a huge standard in the middle level grades, regardless of what state you're in. That's something that is covered in a lot of different facets. And so our science of energy unit covers energy forms and transformations in a very hands-on way, using the vocabulary for potential and kinetic, which you probably are all familiar with, right? Potential, kinetic. So our potential energy forms, we've got chemical, nuclear, gravitational, and elastic. And then we've got our kinetic forms of energy. The vocabulary that we use, we recognize folks may sub out depending on what their specific school standards might specify, but radiant, thermal, sound, electrical, and motion or mechanical, depending on how you do it. So middle school levels, these are often the vocabulary terms that are used. And so what we try to cover with this activity are in station format is each station covers a different energy transformation. And so students get these very hands-on components, and they're going to, if they follow exactly, there's some kind of cookie cutter instructions that they can use to manipulate the material or the set of materials to kind of, and at the middle school level specifically, we're calling out independent and dependent variable, learning to set up an experiment, record data, those kinds of things. But as they go and observe what's happening, they're going to try and pick out the energy flow. We want them to start small with just a simplified energy transformation. And then we ultimately want them to kind of scale up to a very kind of, dare I say, state testing kind of question that asks them to trace the energy flow as far back or far forward as they can. And so we do this through some simple demonstration hands-on pieces. And so often it's a lot of things that you could easily have in your home, in your school classroom, wherever. And so one of the stations is dealing with chemical energy. And so our chemical energy station, station 2, Kristen knows this one well. I've given it to her a few times to run. I'm going to use one of the pieces from it. I've got a little measuring cup here with 10 milliliters or cubic centimeters of vinegar. I've got 10 cubic centimeters of baking soda. I would have my students, if they're following the activity closely, they're going to take the temperature, and I'm using digital. We give them analog thermometers. I know, right? Have them take the temperature of it to start, of the vinegar, and it's roughly room temperature, a little lower. We have 67.4. And then I'm going to dump my vinegar in my baking soda bag. And then take the temperature. And I'd ask my students to tell me what they think they would see and what they ultimately see. And the temperature, I'm going to keep the probe sort of in the bottom there so you can see as it's going. And what do we think we would see? Temperature. Kristen says up. Because kids know vinegar and baking soda and they think volcanoes, right? Because that's what they do vinegar and baking soda with. Well, I have to tell you, we started at 67. We're at 55. I don't know if you can see there, 55, 58. Okay, 58. We went up a little bit, 58. So it went down, and we're talking about why that is. And this is what we're showcasing to our students. And if you want to get into it, there's a whole set of handouts, and I'll show you where those live, that talk students through chemical energy processes, or chemical processes, excuse me, where we're mixing components and a chemical change occurs. So we're looking for evidence of a chemical change. And then we're also seeing obviously the bubbles and the temperature change. And we are noticing that the temperature goes down, talking about what happens in that process. In the chemical process we're dealing with, it is a chemical change, and that mixture, when it chemically reacts, there's not enough energy in the reactants themselves to precede the reaction. So it pulls energy from without, and that's why it feels cold. Like you could liken it to you being cold, feeling cold, and needing to pull energy from a blanket or a coat outside of you to help keep you warm and to help keep you operating. So if a reaction doesn't have enough energy in its reactants to proceed, it's going to pull it in from outside, and that's going to make it feel cold to the touch. So we talk about endothermic and exothermic reactions in this station. Another example would be station 1. We're dealing with kinetic and potential energy on a very basic level. Air goes in to my balloon. I realize I have a background here. And middle school, we're not just making smart noises, okay? We're actually doing things here. So I have blown up this balloon using forced air. So kinetic energy, moving air out of my mouth caused kinetic energy change in this balloon. But that's also because the balloon was able to expand because it has elastic potential energy. And so the more energy, the more air I put in, the more it stretches. And then also the more it will fly when I let it go. And realize you couldn't see it because of my background. Should have planned ahead for that. But we had elastic to motion and motion to elastic and a little bit of sound. So you can also talk to students about energy transformations and that the law of conservation of energy, kind of reinforcing that concept. The goal is to blow up the balloon and have it, fly or move or whatever. And so we're using motion to elastic to motion. But there's also some lost energy that you can't always transform to its desired form, in that you've got wasted energy, because no energy transformation is always 100% efficient. Okay, so you can talk about that law of conservation of energy piece. And then one last example from science of energy. And again, these are basic components. There are a few specialized items. We give you a solar panel, and there's another one in there too. But I've got a rubber band, and I'm stretching it and putting it on my forehead, holding it up against my forehead, not just because I've been told that you can get rid of wrinkles this way. I don't know if I believe that, but I'm going to stretch this rubber band, hold it against my forehead, and then compress it, and then stretch it again and compress it. And as I do that, when I'm stretching it, I'm noting that it's getting warmer on my forehead. And then when I compress it, it feels cooler. Why is it doing that? Because in this case, we're not creating a chemical change in the rubber band. We're not chemically changing this. We're just straining the bonds of the material, the chemical bonds of the material. When you do that, like in your muscles, for example, there is friction on the bonds. So they're strained and stressed, and that friction in the bonds releases thermal energy, so you can feel the heat. So it's motion to thermal in this case. And kids can liken that to a spring, for example, or on a trampoline, or they're going to shoot this at you maybe in middle school, hopefully not. Never have rubber bands anywhere, right? But these are some examples. When I do online workshops, I like to keep people engaged. And so I've done a whole lot of talking for this last 20 minutes, 25 minutes. And I'm going to give a prize for this in case anyone's interested. But I'm going to give you 3 minutes to find the most interesting item in your room that you're in that you could demonstrate an energy transformation with. Most interesting item needs to be it only has to be simple, one form of energy to another. If you want to go bananas, you can do that more than one. But in 3 minutes, 7:35, come back to your seat with the most interesting item you can demonstrate an energy transformation with. sometimes prize motivates people. That's all I have to say.
But I had something sitting on my desk, so I was ready fast.
Sometimes people are ready. I feel like Kristen went to outside of her room to find something fancier. We're on to her.
She cheated.
Oh, Peter too. He just came back from somewhere.
For all we know, Peter was just going right around his desk. He just had to step away from the desk. It said room that you're in, so that could be okay. And Dave, extra points for you for posting the Candy Collector PDF. Thank you. All right. Does anybody, while we're waiting on Kristen, want to show their item? I know I said 7:30. Oh, geez. Here she comes. Okay.
Go, Dave.
Okay. Dave's going to go first. Dave, you're on mute in case you want to do this. And before I give Dave the go ahead, I will say you have to tell us what you're showing us, but you also have to tell us what forms of energy we're witnessing. Okay.
So we've got electrical energy
Okay.
being changed into thermal energy with the wires in there, the resistive wires. And then we have mechanical energy with the fan. I don't think wind energy is anything you're looking at, but kinetic energy.
Perfect. Love that. Okay. There's also a little bit of light on the front from all the electrical components.
It's true.
Probably a little bit of sound. Okay. I
That
like
is
it.
true.
It's a great one. Does anybody else have an example? Anne.
Okay. So this is a little inflatable lantern to take camping. It has a solar panel on the top. And then you can turn it on when it's charged. So it's converting the nuclear energy from the sun to the stored electromagnetic energy. And then when I turn it on, I can use that energy to light my lantern.
Nice. And there's probably stored energy of chemical energy because there's a battery. So you're getting radiant to electrical from the photoelectric effect in the solar panels to chemical in the battery or the capacitor that's inside there that's storing energy short term. And then you've got your light radiant. Very nice. Love that. Anybody else? Kristen, you did some muscle building there to bring that, whatever that was, in.
It's hard to be fun. Let's see.
Oh, geez. Okay.
The heck?
So I got my karaoke machine
Party time.
with my microphone. So we're getting ready for Thanksgiving, and one of my favorite things is we are going to do some little family karaoke. So I got electrical, I got some light, I got some sound. So yeah, I thought that'd be fun. I was going to show you my Christmas lights, but figure you might not like to see that on my house yet.
Do you have a battery in there too?
What?
But
Battery in there, or do you plug it in?
This gets charged.
So it's some chemical energy there for the battery.
Yeah, good point. Yeah.
and it looks like there's like a suitcase handle on the back. So then you can also have some chemical energy in your arm to move it around.
Yes. It
Okay.
gets well used by teachers at my house when we have pool parties.
I see. And what's your go-to karaoke song? I feel like that's a necessary addition to this discussion.
Well, we like Grease songs, but
Okay.
we had a little fun with Pink Pony Club because that's like outlawed at my school because it's inappropriate. But we
Oh.
did have fun with that.
Okay. All right. Love that. Anybody else have one they want to share?
I have bath bombs,
Oh,
which have chemical energy. And when you place them in water, it is an endothermic reaction. So there's energy that's getting absorbed from the water, and it makes the temperature go down, even though you think the temperature goes up, because unless you're taking cold bath bomb baths, most people take warm ones.
Nice. I love that. And that is the first time I've ever seen that specific example. So Peter, you're my prize winner tonight.
You've never
That was
met
the most-
Peter before. See? By
Peter,
the way,
will you?
here's Rory. So
Oh,
Emily,
you missed
Rory.
you missed Rory the human earlier.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
She's-
I was in another webinar, but this is my Rory. She just came to visit.
Peter, will you go ahead and type your email address in the chat to me so that I can send you a prize?
Sure.
Thank you so much. And Dave, also send your email just because you were helping me out there, pal. We'll do 2 prizes. Awesome. So science of energy, obviously, normally I would have done a different demo if we were in person and doing a workshop, but the goal would be to hopefully have you come to a workshop in the future, wherever you might be. And so in that case, you would get to see the activities up close and personal yourself rather than watching me demo them in a virtual setting. So I'll share science of energy. If this is a topic you'd like to use, you can download this curriculum right away. If you do come to a workshop, you almost always get this kit along with maybe another one. So if you've been to a NEED workshop before, you've probably seen this content, but you will automatically receive this kit from most NEED workshops. And it includes, excuse me, 6 different stations plus a teacher demonstration box. Each station covers a different energy transformation, like I had shared before, and each one has 2 to 3 to 4 parts. So although there's 6 stations, one kit kind of covers a lot of different classroom groups in one setting. And one of the ways that I like to facilitate this is I have students become the experts at their station or part of their station. And then their job is to teach the rest of the class in some shape or form. For a while, I was having them do little TikTok videos because that's what kids were doing to learn, right? So they would have to shoot a video of themselves talking about their energy transformation and showcasing different examples. And that was the way they taught the rest of the class, that kind of thing. But each kit comes with all of those stations and the grade level materials for all 4 grade levels. They all use the same materials, slightly different ways. So it's kind of nice, especially if you are like Kristen, for example, teaching middle school one day and then teaching K through 5 the next day. So if you've got to cover multiple grade bands, you can absolutely do that. And each of the stations has its own guide to go with the handout or the material. And then it also has a fill in the gaps kind of reading article to kind of share with your students what is happening at each of the stations and connecting it to real life examples. So with the rubber band station, for example, there's other materials in there that students are exploring potential and kinetic transformations that do motion to thermal and thermal to motion. So they're going to talk about braces and how braces work, which is really appropriate for middle schoolers, and how things like that, like a thermometer, or excuse me, a thermostat work, especially old school thermostats that have the coils that expanded and contract. So real life examples of things, both modern technology and not so modern technology in there included. So,
and Emily, I'm going to chime in because the one thing I remember from you the first day I met you, I don't know, 15 some years ago, Emily has a lot
I'm not that old.
No, it was probably that long ago. I'm sorry. But
It was.
we're not old though. We're vintage. aged to perfection, seasoned, whatever you want to say, but she taught middle school for a long time, and I love the use of the word sphere, so we can avoid the use of the word balls. So it is also catered to our middle school friends who sometimes need us to kind of keep it a little bit more, keep their minds in the right place. So Emily adds that little flavor to it.
Yes, that was one of my first tasks, was altering every spot in that curriculum that had the word ball, just because, it gets old. It sure does. I'm sure right now, if you're doing anything with the numbers 6 and 7, yep, there we go. There we go. So the next activity I want to demonstrate for you is Candy Collector, and Dave was so kind and put that in the chat for me, which is lovely. This activity is super fun. The reason I wanted to showcase this one right now is because it covers renewables, non-renewables, which is related to human impact standards and things like that you might be covering. But I love it because it covers a lot of supplementary content if you want to go there, which includes graphing, some mathematical applications. You can cover economics and business. You can cover history, those kinds of things. But it's also a really great way to use candy that's on sale at the store. So I'm sharing that because as we approach the holidays and color-coded candy goes on sale a lot. This might be a great one to do with those kinds of things in the classroom. If food is not allowed in your learning space, you can absolutely use things like beans that kids wouldn't eat, like dried beans. I guess those are still edible, but you can get away with those. And you can obviously use things other than straws, which I'm going to describe here in a second. But in order to share this activity, I am going to remove the filter on my camera. So you're going to have to see my desk. And because my daughter is going to sleep right now, I'm in the spare office. So you got to see my fun little spare bedroom behind me. But this activity is called Candy Collector. And the setup for this is you're not seeing my face, which is totally fine with me. You're seeing an empty plate and a plate full of Reese's Pieces because that's my jam. And in this activity, the setup is sort of like Oregon Trail-esque in that you're giving your students the prompt that they have traveled to a new town. It is early settlers' time, and their job in the town is to be the energy collector. And candy in the earth on their first plate is their energy. And their job over the course of the year is to transfer energy out of the earth into the sales store where people can come and get it. And so their job is given only the tool provided, because this is primitive times, to move energy from the earth into their store. And you're going to give them a year to do it, because you're going to say, okay, at the end of the year, our town is going to decide if we did a good enough job in getting energy out and if we're going to keep doing this task. Okay, so you'd give your students about 15 seconds to do the task of moving candy. And so if you want to time me, they're going to move candy from earth to store. And they get about 15 seconds, and you would ask them at the end of their year to keep a tally, to start a curve. If you're doing like a Google sheet, if you're a Google educator, you want to have all the kids record their numbers in a Google sheet. You can actually make an energy curve, or like in a business, it would be your business growth curve. And they're going to track how much candy they get out each year. And you're going to ask them, what kinds of things did you run into? What were the challenges? Who did better? Who did worse? What happens here? What happens there? And at the end of each year, you're going to give them another prompt. You're going to say, okay, at the end of the year, this is primitive times. People bought the energy in the store. That energy that you recovered can no longer be used. So you're taking it from the store. In theory, it would have been purchased or wasted. And we're going to dump it off into a discard bowl. And we're going to start again, a new year, getting energy out. And we're going to have our students do that several years in a row. And what you're going to find, typically, the setup is you give them about 50 M&Ms, 30 to 50 M&Ms. My rule of thumb is 2 fun size packs. is the easy way to go, because then they're wrapped and you can just hand them out quick. Okay. But as they sort of take candy out, energy out, they're going to last 4 or 5, maybe 6 years before they start running out of energy. And you're going to ask, okay, well, what happens if we run out of energy? What do you do for your town? If you don't have energy left, what does the town do? And you can talk about examples of that happening in real life, but oftentimes folks, if they run out of resources, they're either going to get creative and, you know, beg, borrow, or steal from somebody neighboring, or they're going to pick up and move on, find another industry, find another thing, and innovate or move on entirely from their town. And we want to avoid that. And so we would then introduce modern day. And so in modern day, we're going to keep it simple. We're going to keep the tool the same, just because I'm a masochist or a sadist or whatever you'd want to say here. But we're going to start with the same setup and put all of our candy back into the original bowl. And we're going to say our job is to get energy out, but it's modern day. So we've also discovered new energy sources, and I'm putting jelly beans in here. Okay, I put 4 jelly beans. They are conveniently roughly the same colors as my Reese's Pieces. So that makes it a little more challenging for you all to see what is what. But I've got some jelly beans here, and candy is candy. We can get energy out. And so you'd give your students time to do that. A lot of students will see, oh, I've got these jelly beans, I'm going for it. And sometimes they're easier, sometimes they're not, because they're a different shape. And so they might waste a lot of time that first year trying to go after these jelly beans because they're a new item. And you might say, okay, well, how do we relate to that? Is that a thing that happens in the real world? Sometimes we're trying new technology. As teachers, we can relate when they bring you a new software that you have to use for your classroom. There's a learning curve sometimes, right? And so we have to learn how to adapt to new things. And when we're talking about energy sources, when there's a newer energy source or a new technology, sometimes there's an adoption challenge. We can liken that to electric cars, right? Not everybody has access to those because it's taking a long time for folks to get the infrastructure in place to be able to make them widely usable. We can kind of talk about those things. And then you'd have them follow the same protocol. And then you'd say, okay, well, it's modern day. We're realizing that we're probably wasteful with our energy. Let's go ahead and instead of getting all the energy out we can each year, let's go forward in this modern day now by only needing 4 pieces total of energy and each 15-second round. And any Reese's Pieces are going to be discarded, but any jelly beans can go back into our earth plate. And you're going to ask your students to keep going through modern day and talking about what's different. What they might do, some students might go after jelly beans only. Some students might not, because A, it's either harder for them, or B, they just don't care. And you can talk about the relationships if you'd like to. Societally, you can bring in some social economics, you can bring in some real life country comparisons or state comparisons. You can give students different sets of resources. You can give some students a plate full of jelly beans, and they might have a rough go in the beginning, but then they might be able to get energy out for a lot longer, and talk to them about, okay, well, what is the difference between the first setup and the second setup? And give them an opportunity to explain to you what was happening in the 2 setups. What you're finding is that your energy sources that are your pieces of energy that are Reese's, in this case, are M&M looking ones, those are non-renewable because we can't replenish them as quickly as we take them out. Our jelly beans become renewable. And so students are actually able to kind of make an operational definition of what renewable and non-renewable mean through this activity, and then also kind of relate it to different settings around them and kind of talk about impacts, talk about how long energy lasts when you use both things together. If you have both options, both energy resource options, and you only use one of them, you're going to run out of one a lot sooner than you'll run out of the other. And then it will be a lot harder to adopt the other because you've been so used to using the other one from before. So you kind of have to shift your mindset a little bit. And that gives students an opportunity to kind of see and talk more about how we make that switch and that renewable versus non-renewable switch discussion that sometimes comes up with students here and there. So candy collector, fun activity, fun one to do if you're like, it can take about 15, 20 minutes. It can take a lot longer if you'd like, but it's a great one for those days when approaching, when holiday mayhem starts to take over in lots of different capacities. You can download this in Energy Games and Icebreakers. There's no student handout. It's easy to hand out. Don't need a lot of specialized materials. And if you don't want to use straws, we use chopsticks, tweezers, whatever the case may be. A plastic spoon is really hard to scoop candy with, so it can be hilarious to watch and have students hone their fine motor skills, if you will. Any questions about Candy Collector? Great for all ages. I know I'm middle level folks here, but this is a great activity for all grades. High school really gets into it. You can do some upper level graphing activities there if you want to have students building their own pie charts. If you have, you know, honors level students who want to do some more higher level math, you could easily bring in some rigor with lots of different applications here. So check out the extensions in the teacher guide for this activity for some more amplification if you'd like. And last but not least, I'm going to share an easy activity called sidekick circuits. You've probably all done paper circuits before. Have you all done a paper circuit? Has anybody done a paper circuit? Kristen has? Oh, maybe not. Okay, cool. All right. So sidekick circuits is easy to do, easy to manipulate. Materials are cheap. I get a lot of them off of Amazon. I'm not a shill for Amazon, but it's easy to find them since Radio Shack isn't a thing anymore where I live. But we're using copper conductive tape, which you can buy in rolls very cheaply. Looks like this. It's adhesive on one side, and it's copper and it's conductive. We're using button batteries, which for middle school is pretty safe. They probably wouldn't eat them, I say, with trepidation. And little mini LED bulbs, which you can hopefully see there on my screen. This one is blue, just because that's the pack that we bought, but you can buy multicolored, whatever. Great way to teach about basic circuitry, about electricity, magnetism, batteries. Great way to connect to that energy transformation discussion we talked about before. And what students are going to do in this sidekick circuits unit, and I'll share my screen here. In case you want to see the unit. The students are going to, and you can kind of see in the picture there, they're wiring up a paper circuit with this copper tape, and then they can amplify things up and go to from a simple circuit, to parallel circuitry, lighting up multiple bulbs, using multiple batteries, doing the whole shebang. But it's a great engineering problem solving activity. It's a really great, like, having kids muscle through it kind of activity, which I think sometimes gets left in the dust anymore. But this activity, I'm going to show you our holiday versions. And so in case you're interested, you can download these from that supplementary page, which I was sharing with you. The kids can color them, and they are winter themed, not Christmas. So you can say happy holidays. There's a snowman, whatever. In the case of the greeting card, the circuit is on one page and you print it back to back, and then they can put a blank page in between where they can write their greeting. And then what they'll do is they'll wire it up and they can light their card. And so you need some very simple materials. I'm going to show you a Thanksgiving one here. This is our Thanksgiving simple circuit. You'll see on the back what it looks like. And so what I've got here is a diagram that they're going to cover with paper tape the whole way across, and we give them instructions. And then there's a hole that they'll cut in the front into my pilgrim hat here, if you will, on the turkey. And I put the LED across, and I scotch tape it across the top there so it makes sure the leads of the LED are on the conductive pieces of the wire. And then the only challenge is making sure your LED, because the LED is a semiconductor, has a longer end and a shorter end, two different prongs, much like a prong that goes in the wall has two different ends, and you got to match them up sometimes. You got to make sure you know which is positive and negative. If you don't, just flip the battery to the other side. Okay. But they're going to lay the battery on top of their diagram and flip it over. And if they do it correctly, it will light up their pilgrim hat on their little turkey. And so fun little circuits activity. We have Valentine's, Thanksgiving, Christmas or holiday themed items, not Christmas themed, but winter holidays. So like snowmen, reindeer, if you will. Very fun little applications to use and very cheap and easy to find these materials. They were, for me, the reason my students used them is they were in like a red tub that was lying around that had been mostly picked over, and that was all that I had left. And I was like, ooh, I can make circuits with this. And so that's kind of how we came across these items. Before I finish up, I want to share about a couple fun little opportunities for folks, things that are available to you. I talked about leadership opportunities for students, but also enriching for teachers. And there are some NMLSTA folks who join us in these endeavors. And I just want to make sure to give this pitch. For your students who are learning about energy, if you have students who are learning about energy, I encourage you to learn to share the Youth Awards program with those students. It can be done individually, it can be done as a class or an after school program, it can be done as a family. But our Youth Awards program basically asks students who've been learning about energy to share about it with us in slide format. Maximum of 15 slides. 3 of those slides have to have information on them. The rest can be pictures. And we like if it's kid created, as long as we can read like red on a green background, we don't even care about that part. So there's a template for submitting the slides. Everything that you need to know is scannable at this QR code. But basically kids submit by April 15th to every year to us a slideshow explaining what they learned about energy and who they shared it with. And we have a local and state and national recognition mechanism in place where we will share with your community about all the cool things that you're doing, but we will also recognize your students for their efforts as well. There's the fun little conference that students can attend, but it's totally optional to attend. Any student who submits a project is eligible to attend our conference. There is a fee, but we also look for sponsorship for schools to send small to large groups, depending on how big they want to do it. And kids travel from across the country to attend our awards ceremony as well. And you can see this was some students from the last couple of years celebrating their energy endeavors in the classroom. And again, a lot of this is sponsored. A lot of students don't spend very much to come. Some students do, depending on what the goals of that program might be. And we are always looking for new schools to participate. And if your state does not have a winner on this website that you scan, I encourage you to sign up because you might be able to attend with sponsorship, no questions asked. And we'll fly you and your students if you want. And if you don't want to bring your students, you can just come and have the parents bring the students. It's up to you. And last but not least, I want to share about our national conference, which is an awesome opportunity if you've learned about energy a little bit and would like to know more about energy, especially teaching energy in your classroom. I encourage you to check out our national conference for educators. This summer, it's in Nashville, Tennessee. And it's a 4.5, we call it 5 days, but 4.5 day conference where we do a whole bunch of hands-on energy related content. But there's so many applications. There are teachers who come from across all different types of topic areas, because while the focus is energy, there's a lot of activities that span all of the topics and grade subjects and grade bands. So it's a great networking opportunity. It's a great way to kind of reinvigorate, get some college credit if you need it, and also get an opportunity if you would like to sleep starfish and not have to share a room with a family member for a couple of days, to do that instead in a new town. So I encourage you, if you don't know sleeping starfish, I encourage it. It's very fun. But great opportunity. Again, we will try to find sponsorship for folks who want to attend. So if it's something that fits your schedule and you would like to check it out, I encourage you to apply. There's no harm in doing so. You can click "would like to be considered for sponsorship" on your application, and we will try to do that. For folks who do receive sponsorship, everything is covered but 2 meals, and that includes your travel. So it's a great opportunity, and we will be right off of Broadway, is that the right street? In Nashville. So it's a nice little opportunity to get outside and see some new things and also learn some new energy content. If you are interested in any more of this stuff, a lot of what I shared is often posted on our social or on our website. We have a YouTube channel that has videos of almost all of our activities. So I encourage you to check that out, and come see us at a workshop. We would love to have you anytime. And if you're at NSTA proper, come see us at our booth. We're always giving away free kits, things like that. It won't be me this summer, but it'll be somebody fun. Or this spring, I'll say. Anybody have any questions for me?
I feel like you answered many of our questions. I think Dave's going to ask you if we can post this video on our fledgling YouTube channel.
Absolutely. Please do.
Thank you.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, every time I thought of a question, you answered it.
And I obviously encourage the workshops. I know Dave went to one,
Mhm.
and I think he had a good experience. And obviously I've been to many and have helped at many. I don't know about where you all are located, but Peter's in Delaware, Emily.
Mhm.
Philadelphia,
Went to
would
one
that be
last-
the closest?
I went to one last spring in
Oh, you
Delaware.
did go?
Yeah,
Okay.
you did. Yeah.
Hey, Peter,
Perfect.
there's one in Exton. That's not too far. It's right
Yeah,
across
that's
from
really close.
Wilmington.
Yep.
Yeah, Peter, if there's a Constellation sponsored one, you can join. If it's Pico sponsored, you would have to wait until we do one, which we should be doing for Delmarva Power and Pepco. You could go to any of those.
Okay.
Okay. We would love to have you. You don't have any attendance requirements as far as like if you've been to one last year, you can come again next year and get a new kit, and pick a different kit if that's offered, or get the same one and replenish your supplies. So we're always happy to have you back.
And Peter,
Cool.
that's what I did. I collected Science of Energy kits and wind turbines.
I got a kit that I gave to a teacher down the hall. And then, I'm hoping to get the same kit so we can both do it now in our 8th grade.
Dave, that was too nice. That was too nice. Now you need one for you. Well,
Dave,
I really,
we're in Doylestown, Dave, earlier this month.
Oh, yeah?
Or
Awesome.
next month. I don't know. They'll let you leave the school though, right?
Yeah, maybe.
well, I really appreciate everyone's time. I'm gonna put, well, Mary Lou has my email. If you want, Mary Lou, when you post or share, please feel free to share my email address with everyone. That's probably easier than like scrambling to write it down before you leave. But please feel free to email me if you're not sure. Email Kristen and she will get you to me. She also has my cell phone number. So if anything happens and you're like, I don't know how to do this activity, you can always text me. I'm happy to help anytime, and I'm really thankful to be back with my middle school people. So
Thanks, Emily.
Thank you
Thank
very
I
you.
much.
might try some
Thank
of this
you.
with my grandsons.
Love
Emily.
that. I love that. Please
They're
do
a
it.
little under the age of the thing, but what the heck? Let them start early.
Yes,
Suzanne,
I agree.
a lot of my daughter's science fair projects were need things. I mean, probably for 4 years. She did solar, she did wind, she did glow sticks. She
Yeah,
did.
I did the same thing with
hot
my
pan.
kids when they did mine. I was in the greenhouse and I said, well, you were asking about nutrition, so let's do this. My son looked
Yeah.
at me and said, what do you mean? I go, well, what's a